Okay, I'll call it to order. We'll start with Mr. Wilkerson for roll call.
John Wilkerson.
Donna Jackson.
Keith Block. Butch Freeman.
Brian Mon.
Marissa Treat.
Jonathan Core.
And Jonathan, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 30?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Wilkerson, if you'll hit your button for me, please.
If there's no individual consideration on the consent docket, is there a motion?
No, I want to pull out item 3.
Okay.
Actually, okay. I want to pull item 3 out. I want to pair it up with 5 and 6.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to approve 2 and 4?
Move to approve 2 and 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do you want to?
Mr. Freeman, Mr. Block, if you'll vote for me, please.
Oh, I thought I touched it. It's on top. Oh, yeah. My
Thank you.
fingertips.
Okay. Do you want to talk about this now? Item 3?
3, 5, and 6 kind of work together. If you don't mind talking about all.
Yep,
all
go
three
right
of them
ahead.
together. 5 and 6 are discussions about the possible purchasing of the judgments. One for $350,000, one for $75,000. Item 3 is the values and the cash balances and the investments of judgments schedule called the market schedules as of 12/31/26. And the reason I'm bringing this up at this point is that the total amount of invested money for the defined benefit plan is $6,678,000, of which $1.385 million is in judgments already. So if we were to buy additional judgments, that would put the investment in judgments in the defined benefit plan to over $1,860,000. And the point is that we're getting a little heavy in one investment. Now, I will put it this way, is that we have had people on this board say, well, for 8.75%, we ought to buy everything we can get. But there's also a consideration that we need to be looking at even now and in the future, as when do the older judgments start falling off and we get cash back into the kitty. I know every June or July 1, there's a payment that's made to the county retirement board account. And so my concern is, as it has been before, but this time I have a little bit more to put with it, is that we're getting ready to go over 28% of the invested money into judgments. And the second thing is that I asked the county clerk's office to provide me a copy of the Board of County Commissioners agenda item on the investment policy of the board. And it does allow us to buy judgments, but also says that we have to use proper due diligence and proper investing policies. So I'm just bringing this up at the point, if you want to, on item number 3, if we want to go in and accept item 3, move to accept item 3. Or I'll make a motion for us to accept it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One moment, please. I'm fixing roll call. I apologize. Mr. Block. Thank you, sir.
Then for items 5 and 6, I know the treasurer's put them on here, but we also have Ms. Remillard here if you want to ask any questions of the Jail Trust Council.
I would like to
Move approval of item 5 and 6, and I would be happy to comment on Mr. Keith's comments. Which would you like to do?
Go ahead.
Liquidity is the one item that you have to absolutely watch on the retirement system. The good news on liquidity is it's known. And with all due respect, and I'm trying to be calm, as you know, I'm not a very calm individual. I resent the insinuation that I can't figure out liquidity and that I can't figure out what we have to have in the way of payments. I would never put, most of all our retirees, I would never put the retirees in a position to where we'd have to work some kind of something to be able to make their payments. And we are not. We are not. And I can assure you that the young lady I've got that works this program is magnificent. I can assure you that as long as I'm the treasurer, we will not face those types of problems. So, and Keith, you bring it up yourself, you do it every month, there's good rate of return on it. And I could assure you one more time that the liquidity aspect of this is set up so that we will be liquid enough. This is not like having to run county general where you have hundreds and hundreds of payments, where some of the stuff you're not real sure of. We know what the payments are on this, and we've got the liquidity built in there. So I again make the motion, we approve items 5 and 6.
And first, I would like to say that, yes, which is correct, and I'm not saying it's I'm not disrespecting him. And I know what payroll runs every month is 96,000, which is 1.2 million. We got cash for that. My point is that at some point, and I said this before, it's not disrespecting the system. It's a point where how far do we basically, and the word is self-dealing, and that's concerning me. And that's the only part that concerns me, is that when does the self-dealing kick in? Because we're doing it for the benefit of Oklahoma County to bail out some judgments. And back when we first started this, it was a couple $100,000. And now we're going to be up to 1.8 million. And that's the only purpose I have got here. It's not disrespecting the treasurer's ability to manage cash. There is cash there. I've never said that there wasn't cash. But my concern is, where are we going with regard to self-dealing? And when does that line, we cross that line? And I don't know where it is, but there is a line out there.
May I address the self-dealing?
Please.
Okay. I remind this board, and I know the board, at least most of you will remember the reason that we have it set up. This became an arrow in our negotiations that we have with judgments and people who hold judgments. What it boils down to is it gives us the opportunity when and I want to make up numbers, please don't hold me to these numbers. Okay? We know that the judgment is being reached. We know that we're going to settle a judgment. We being the county. I am not involved in the settlement process whatsoever, except for, okay, the plaintiffs want $500,000. But I think if we could it goes on the judgment rolls, it's paid out over 3 years. But I think that if we were able to buy that judgment from them, then that we could get it reduced by $100,000, because the lawyers want their money now, and understandably so, instead of having to wait over 3 June 30s to get it. So, okay, then the first question I go to Stacy with is, do we have the liquidity? Yes, we do have the liquidity. Will it work in with our the dates back to the liquidity? Liquidity is the key on the retirement system. Yes, it does. Then let's purchase it. So we go to the DA. The DA then takes it from there and brings to us a proposal to buy this judgment, which we then can cut the check to the county clerk, and the process then be settled with that person who's already got the judgment. We're not involved in the process of whether there's a judgment or anything else. we are in a process that we can provide the opportunity to save the county taxpayers $100,000 in my example. And so we take them up on that. Now, okay. Thank you.
Second.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman, there's not any doubt that the interest rate that is made from judgments is far more significant. And I understand that. I understand the purpose of purchasing a judgment and as a result of that, having it where it is paid to us directly at that higher rate. And I recognize that. And it's higher than we would receive from any other investments that are generally there. What I'm concerned about, and it's just something that I think about, is that the right now with the judgments that we have, we're at about 25% of the total amount of funds that we have.
Okay.
And so my question becomes, at what point do we risk? What is the risk that we have, and what is certainly I understand the liquidity aspect of it, but at what point do we run a risk there? And that is my question. I mean, how many more judgments conceivably would we be able to purchase? Quite a few, obviously, but at what point do we become top heavy? We're at 25% now. And so my question is, at what point do we become top heavy now, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it would be a long ways off. Remember now, these, for example, looking at your sheet right here, we've got one of them that comes due in May of 26, one of them in 9, whatever month that is, September. And so the top part of it is when we're buying new judgments without the older judgments in the process of falling off. So that's how I would defend. Now, however, the decision point is still liquidity. Liquidity is what makes this retirement system exist. I'll go back to my example. We've got liquidity is what makes it. So that's the real issue, is on the liquidity. Can we do that and still have sufficient money to meet not only this month's payroll, but the projected payrolls, putting in also the monies that's coming off of these, that's coming off of the various judgments as they come down.
And I do recognize that. I mean, we've got a little less than $5 million in Goldman. We have,
Mhm.
what, 250,000 in CDs. So we do have cash there. My concern is, at what point do we become top heavy in terms of purchasing judgments? And I recognize that some of them are going to fall off because they will have been paid in full. And so it's a matter of something that is, I understand that that's a fluid number too, and that's going to change.
It is, as far as coming top heavy, I honestly do not perceive where we would become top heavy, as long as we've got, again, the liquidity required to meet that monthly payroll. And as I said, that's fairly hard. The other issue too on this retirement system, as we talk about, and as I brought up many times, it's a non-growing system. In other words, a system, I don't even know that we have anybody left anymore or not that's even on that active employee, or even for that matter, people coming on. So it's not a growing system. And so that's another helps us to forecast then what we're looking at. And so I'm comfortable. Again, as your treasurer, I'm not concerned about that. I understand it's a great question. I'm not concerned about it. Again, as you brought up yourself, 25% roughly, and we do have the Goldman, for example, where we have 100% liquidity. 100% liquidity, and of course CDs have a expiration date coming up. So, no, I appreciate and value the question. I really do. Again, yes, those are great rates of return. They're set by Oklahoma statute. There is no negotiation involved. It's a great investment. And it's a great investment for the participants of the Oklahoma County Retirement System, and it's a great investment for the citizens of Oklahoma County if we can get that, if by doing this, we can get that judgment down by $100,000 in my example. So that's why we do it. That's why I think it's been a very successful program. And there's a number of people involved, you know, a number of offices. It's not people, but a number of offices that are involved, to include this board right here.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to the DA about this. Do you care to have anything else to add to it? Because I asked if she shared any concerns as our legal counsel.
Yes, the DA has looked at this particular program and we've advocated for it for several years because we view this as a win-win. It is not double dealing. It is not feeding anything back. But what you do by offering this up, this judgment can be bought. It doesn't have to be bought by this particular board. This judgment would be a legitimate judgment that could be purchased by any investor who would like to earn the percentage of interest that is allowed to be earned. The interest for judgments against the county is capped by statute at 10%, which means up to 10% income. When you look at the judgment right now, it's I think at 8.75% is a great return on investment. You're investing in the county. The county is the one who is paying this judgment. This money, whether we settle these cases and it goes on this judgment tax roll, it's going on the tax roll, the citizens of Oklahoma, no matter what. So by having the ability for our general counsel or the counsel for the jail, whoever it is, to be able to go in and they say, well, we want to settle this for $500,000, the example that the treasurer gave. And we can say, well, $500,000, you get that out over the next 3 years. It's going on the judgment roll. It's going to be paid, and you're going to get your installments out over 3 years. So if it's February right now, your first installment isn't going to come until after June of this year, and then you're going to get it in 3 installments. The benefit we give by offering this type of program, and like I said, it doesn't have to be this board that particularly buys it. We can offer this deal to somebody else, and then the retirees are you're going to invest, and you're going to get a lesser rate of return for your employees that are on this retirement system. And just remember that. What is the maximum advantage here? There's an advantage to the county because we are able to have a quiver in our quill to negotiate better. Number 2, it's always going to go on the tax rolls, and this board has the ability, by proving this, of giving us the opportunity to negotiate those settlements down. That is not normally a power this board would ever have, but you were involved in that. Because when you say no to this, if you were to say no today to these 2 settlements, we went out, we asked if there was liquidity, if we could buy this. These individuals and their lawyers settled on the grounds that we said we would be able to come before this board and possibly get this done. If they decide tomorrow that they don't want to wait the 3 years, you say no and they don't decide 3 years, we're back in litigation. And what happens in federal litigation, we go to federal jury trial, and that could be a hit or miss. In every single one of these cases, you're putting your hands in 12 jurors, some of which are not even citizens of Oklahoma County, because in federal jury trial, it's the Western District of Oklahoma. We could literally have a jury that not a single citizen is a registered voter in Oklahoma County deciding our fate. So when you take in globally how important this process is, you need to take into consideration that this is bigger than just buying an investment. And if you have the liquidity, your fiduciary duty is that what? You are trying to get the maximum benefit for the retirees on their return on investment. You are investing in the county. The county is who they work for, and if you have fiduciary faith in the county to pay their debts, this is probably the safest investment that you could probably get. So take all of that into consideration, and just know that when you make the decision of whether or not to buy or not to buy these judgments, that your decision to do that is also impacting the overall litigation and the taxpayers, because at the end of the day, every judgment, whether it's in a courtroom issued by a jury in a judgment, or if it's a settlement, that's going on the ad valorem taxes. That's going on the tax roll. So the control and the power are yours, and the DA obviously is encouraging this because we feel like this is a win-win. I do have a fiduciary duty and an obligation to this board to advise you on what I think is legally right and just for you to do. And if I thought this in any way was going to put this board or any of its members in jeopardy of violating its duty to the people that you represent, I would advise you of that. And what I'm saying is I don't see that particular threat or concern from a legal standpoint or a fiduciary standpoint.
Questions of the DA?
Yeah, I have one. Back 6 months ago, the independent legal counsel of the county was here, and we were buying a judgment then, and he was telling us the same story. And his comment, I said, well, when does the freight train stop? And he says, we got tons of these cases floating around. We got tons of this stuff going. We don't, we listen to the news, we read the newspapers. Well, we don't read newspapers anymore because they don't print them, but there's a lot of potential liability of this county. And again, I have no problem what Mr. Freeman's saying about liquidity and all that stuff. He is right. He does have liquidity, but somewhere in here there has to be a line in the sand, and somewhere
And my question is why?
Why?
What
well, no,
makes,
wait,
what,
let
no,
me
no, my question to you is why do you believe that, so I can answer your question?
Okay. Do you know what I am?
I don't know. No.
I have 3 letters after my name.
Okay.
Okay. And it's not cut, paste, and a symbol. Okay. I am a CPA.
Okay.
I deal with numbers all day long. There is a point where that line in the sand, and I'm not saying it's today, but there is a line in the sand where the DA needs to be looking for, and again, county may have to look for alternatives to help settle these massive amount of judgments that could be coming down the road. And again, I don't disagree about liquidity. I know that right now the defined benefit retirees only cost us $96,000 a month, which if you multiply by 12 is just shy of a little bit less than $1.2 million. So I have no problem with that, and that's a decreasing number every month because they die. But what my point is that if you, as Richard said down here at the other end, there's a point where you get overweighted. And that's the point that we're trying to get to is, yes, we can plan, and we can plan. But at the rate that they're coming in, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is the 4th or 5th round of judgments we fought in 12 months. And the last round of judgments was almost 300,000, wasn't it, Richard? I believe it was almost 300,000.
Don't remember the number.
We talked about it. It was about 300,000. So now we're going to 4.25. And all I'm saying is there will be a point in the sand where the line comes up that we have to project out. And I know these judgments fall off. I see them fall off every year. And as I said, when we were first approving judgments, the total amount of judgments on the rolls was less than $250,000, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. And all I'm trying to say is the numbers, we keep growing it and keep growing it. Yes, it sounds great on paper. I love to hear about how we can make 8.75 in interest. But the point is, somewhere, if the judgments keep coming in and at the size of the judgments, where is Oklahoma County going to look to when the line in the sand gets hit?
And I guess my question for you back to that is, that line in the sand obviously is something that this board can discuss and create. Obviously, you have the ability through bylaws or whatever your investment strategy is, you can create that. But what I am basically advocating is, as far as your risk concerned, I understand what you're talking about, the line in the sand and the risk. The risk that you are facing is when you buy these judgments, you know who your creditor is. Your creditor is also these folks' former employers. It's the county. It's a body politic. And their liquidity and their rating as a creditor as a debtor should be looked at. And the fact of the matter is this is one of the most sound investments. And I think that if you ask your investment strategists, they will tell you that buying judgments from the federal government, buying bonds from the federal government, buying judgments from the county government are going to be a sound investment strategy. So that line that you're talking about is not something that the DA can offer you. All I can tell you is that based upon the numbers and the fact that these do roll on and roll off, I mean, it's a 3-year cycle. It is predictable. We can put these numbers in and you can determine what those numbers are. If you're going to do that, however, we would like you to at least have those conversations with the district attorney's office and some folks, because we do rely on the way the strategy is now, which is we've been able to come to this board and have you consider and buy these judgments. So if you're going to draw that line and say, okay, it's at 33%, we're going to cut it off. At 50%, we're going to cut it off. But I would ask you this, under what strategy would you cut off investments? What is your percentage for investing in the stock market? When do you cut that off? When do you think you're too top heavy on that? That's the kind of question I need you to ask for this. When do you feel you're too top heavy to bet on Oklahoma County? And I'd say that number's pretty far up and pretty high, because I feel like that the county is in good financial straits, and these do go on the ad valorem tax rolls, and anything we can do to decrease the amount of money that goes on those tax rolls, we should be doing, and anything that we need to, but we have to understand these are going on there whether you buy that or not. So that investment opportunity can go to another investor. If what you tell us is, look, DA, you need to go peddle your judgments to some other investor. Well, maybe I'll go hit up Tulsa County. Maybe they'll be interested in buying Oklahoma County's judgments. I don't know. But like I said, this is a legitimate investment opportunity. It is allowed by the statutes. It is allowed by the law. And it is up to you all to determine what your tolerance level is in betting on Oklahoma County. But I feel like that Oklahoma County is solid enough and financially structured and solid enough to make it a good investment.
Further questions of the DA? There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, Mr. Wilkerson.
Sure, this is the standard forfeiture report from Bank of Oklahoma ending in January. At the end of January, we have $1.3 million in the forfeiture account, and we brought in $268,000 worth of forfeitures during the month of January.
Okay, no action needed other than that. And on item 8.
Sure. This is a surviving spouse application for retirement. Our employee passed away in service. He'd been here 16 years. I'll move to approve this one.
Second.
Condolences to the family. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 9.
Sure. This is for Anna Swice. She worked in the county clerk's office. She qualifies for retirement.
Motion to move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Wilkerson, your vote, please, sir. Thank you.
Cassandra McDowell.
Sure. She's one of our defined benefit retirees that had to wait till she turned 62. So this catches her back up and puts her on the defined benefit plan.
Is there a motion?
Motion to accept.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Last one.
Sure. This is for Mr. Harry Falter in the sheriff's office, longtime employee. I'll go ahead and move this one.
Mr. Wilkerson, can I have your vote for the last one? Thank you, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any citizens here to speak? Board comments? Hearing none.
Adjourn.
No new business. There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Can we just meet in there real quick?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.